Hello, FunFitters. Tuli here, your flying coach. I'm here on the second installment of our menopause journey, as we talk to people and experts that are going to help us navigate this part of our lives. As you know, last week I had a very candid conversation with a nice sister who was able to talk to us through her journey and the mechanism and the coping mechanisms that she took to be able to cope with the menopause period. So today, as I promised you, I am bringing on board two very dashing gentlemen who are partners to us women who are going through this phase of our lives. A phase, as I said, that can be quite daunting, a phase that can be quite difficult and quite emotionally draining. And I can imagine what it's like for partners living with us, women who are going through the stage, and how they are coping with it. So these gentlemen have been very kind to actually agree to be on my podcast so that they can speak about their experiences and hopefully shed some light to some men who are wondering what's going on with their partners and provide solutions that are going to help in terms of the men in our lives coping with this period in our lives. So without wasting any further time, because I'm sure you are raring to hear what they have to say about this, I am going to ask these gentlemen to introduce themselves, starting with the gentleman over here.
Hi everyone, the gentleman over here is Enes Galede Kibe. I happen to be the expert on how to live with this lady.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Hi, morning. My name is Lwazi Shongwe. I am a husband to Bongiwe Shongwe, who was on the podcast last week. So Bongiwe being Tuli's sister, so Tuli is my sister-in-law. Yeah, I've sort of gone through the experience with Bongiwe, living, I don't know what to say, living through menopause or living with menopause, whatever is the correct expression.
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully.
And I'm sure they will understand.
Yes,
Exactly.
thanks, okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's me briefly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So just maybe before we get on to it, just tell us a little bit about what you do, your hobbies, career, so that people know,
Cool.
the different aspects.
So, I for a living, I actually sell airtime. Those South Africans know data.
Uh-huh.
So I work for a mobile company, so that's what I do. And what I do in my spare time, if it's not, being an expert on this lady here, I play a little bit of golf. It's my favorite passion. So I really enjoy being out in the open and, the challenge of chasing the natural ball across 7 kilometers is also exciting. So that's it.
And he claims it's exercise, by the way, and
It is.
that's a story for another day. Talking about golf and exercising. Lwazi?
Yes, so what do I do for a living? I'm a curious person, so I work in the industry known as market research. I just really probe into people's or consumers' lives and behaviors and try to make sense of what drives certain decisions, consumer behavior and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I come from a social science background, so I'm very much interested in social issues, but also just understanding society in general, whether it's South African societies across the world. Mm-hmm. I think 100% nerd. I find happiness in books. I'm not a TV person. TV for me is mainly, I do enjoy sports, so I watch sports on TV, a bit of news. I like documentaries, mainly nature and that kind of thing. But really, for me, what downtime, besides running, which I enjoy a lot, running and exercising, is just reading. So I can literally be in my own space with something to read, and I'm absolutely fine. And maybe if you just allow me to share a bit, but one of the things I really enjoy most, living and being married to Bongiwe, we've got a lot of common interests, but also got a lot of diverse interests. She is a TV person. She is a Judge Judy devotee, which I don't get. So but we'll spend time together. She's listening to Judge Judy, I'm reading, and we're absolutely fine. So yeah, anything that is just about just gaining knowledge about anything and everything, I really, really enjoy.
Fantastic.
Yes, yeah.
Fantastic, Lwazi. Let's start with you, Mr. G. That's what I call him. So how did you initially react when your partner, who happens to be me, in this instance, started experiencing menopause? What were the things that you started noticing, and how did you react to those?
I'll tell you a funny story. I mean, the reason why we moved to Joburg, because I hate the cold. We lived in Joburg for a while. Joburg is super cold. For those who don't, I'll tell you that. So when I moved here, I thought we would be to a warmer climate. But at some point during our stay in Durban, I just realized that our house was winter 24/7, the whole year. So literally, I live in a house where the aircon is always full blast, every room, every day, winter, summer, whatever season it is. So for me, that was the first telltale sign around how actually you struggle to deal with heat, right? Or even warm conditions. So I had to really, really adjust to that, right? So that's the one thing. And then the other thing is being around, Julie struggles to sleep, to fall asleep. So and over time, it progressively got worse. So you will go to a habit of, if we are watching TV, I'm in any sleep. I try to go to bed before 9 o'clock if I can help it. But I had to learn to let her sleep a little bit longer. If she falls asleep on the couch, let her sleep a little bit longer, because I knew if I woke her up, she'll take another 3 hours to fall asleep. So those are the things that I'm noticing, and by the way, to adjust to.
Let's get to you, because I know these things, you guys experience these things differently.
Yeah.
So yours was the continual winter, whether it's summer, and the lack of sleep. What was yours?
So with us, Bongo and I can't really say exactly when I started noticing, but at some point I just noticed her kind of being very anxious. Which was so out of character for her. I mean, I'm really, really blessed to have a partner who is a very carefree person. Really doesn't get spooked by things easily, or except she watches horror movies and then she gets spooked by what she was watching. But that's a story for another day. Yes. Yeah. But so at a certain point, I just suddenly realized, we was just anxious, worried about all sorts of things. Then I would just ask, hey, right, are you fine? Then I think one time she said to me, she almost described like an out-of-body experience. So then I thought, okay, look, I know that my wife is crazy. Actually, I love her precisely because she's crazy, but this is another level of crazy. This I don't understand. But then I suddenly realized that she's not joking. She's actually feeling something odd, weird. She can't exactly explain it. I can also see that something is happening. I do not know what it is.
Exactly.
And at that point, I'd heard of menopause. I did not immediately say, oh, this is menopause. It was actually her then who says, Haibu, I think this is menopause. And also she has then spoken to her twin sister, Babongile, and Babongile has listened to the symptoms and said, okay, this is exactly what's happening to you. Yeah. So then we knew. In fact, now knowing what it is for me was a big relief in a way, because I thought, okay, all right, I have heard of this animal called menopause. I don't quite know everything about it. I do have a sense about what it is, but not knowing everything. I was not aware. So I had heard of hot flashes, because also that was kind of coming into it. So suddenly she would actually went to buy fans. So in our house we had only one aircon in the main bedroom. But suddenly there was also a need to. So now suddenly this aircon was on again, like a lot of times. So like evenings, I would think, okay, it's now about 17 degrees. It's cold. Bongo says no, she's feeling hot. I'm like, oh, okay. So the hot flashes that I could quite get, but it was the out of body experience that she mentioned first as the thing that for me said, oh, okay, hang on, there's something going on. But I kind of noticed her, even without her verbalizing anything, there was something in her body language that was just not the normal hair, just really someone who's tense, and I couldn't. In fact, at a certain point, I started even wondering if I may have upset her, but then I thought, but she would tell me she's not the type to not say, if something is bothering her. So yeah, that was the main thing, out of body experience, which at first I thought, okay, this is getting to another level of craziness. Then I suddenly realized, no, actually, this is not a joke. Yeah.
So clearly these things that your partners are going through are quite hectic. How did it affect your relationship at first? And what sort of support, once you understood what your partners were going through, you found you needed first yourselves as men going through this difficult time? Of course, I'm sure it must have been for you. And then secondly, what would you say to men that are now experiencing these different symptoms? Obviously, we do know that each one of these represent differently. Yours was an out-of-body experience. Yours was lack of sleep and hot flashes. So what coping mechanism do you give them? What advice would you let them know? So on your side, how did it affect your relationship? Emotionally, how did you cope with it? What strategies did you put in place to ensure that you are able to cope with that? And how would you advise men? I start with you.
Yeah, that's a big question.
So I think for me, it's like myself and two very different people. I'm like a solution-oriented person. Like for me, like something happens, I want to solve it and fix it, right? And I think sometimes it's in these type of situations, it's the worst thing you could do, right? And if you are like me, it's a big transition. You need to learn to like, okay, because sometimes it is what it is. Like the person doesn't need a solution. Also, you're not going to solve it. If they're a bit anxious and they're stressed, they get emotional, just gotta let it be. It is what it is, right? So, and that for me was the biggest adjustment for me, because like I said, I'm very solution oriented. Something happens, I think of how do I fix it, and that was a bit of the struggle to adjust to. I think that's the number one thing. I think for me the anxiousness and being emotionally, let's say, expressive, it's something that I probably in our married life I got a lot of training on. Tony's very like that. She's always been emotionally expressive, and I'm not. So it's something that over time I had to learn. So that wasn't the biggest adjustment. So if I had to say something that I struggled with was not being able to solve the problem. So and my advice would be like, this is one of those things that you're never gonna fully understand. So trying to solve it is not gonna help. I think it's mostly just try to engage. So be available, listen to the conversation, and allow the person to express themselves. That's all you could do, really.
Yeah.
Shawan could.
Yeah. I think I'm really mostly going to echo Ernest's words. It was almost to what Ernest was saying about being solutions driven. I would describe myself as very much a logical process type of person. So for me, if I can't follow the logic of something, then I have a bit of difficulty. So just even just away from Bongi, but just even in my brother family, sometimes I end up in a bit of tension. Sometimes with my siblings. When I say tension, I'm not really talking about a nasty fight, but a bit of tension though, where something is said and it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm trying to follow the logical process of the thing. So there are certain things, for example, that for me are just what they are. They cannot be changed. So I'm not interested in bothering talking about that, So I'm gonna be asked, you see now, Auntie so and so is doing this and this. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? In the family structure and the way of doing things, it's her right to do that. I don't exactly like it, but this is what she does. It doesn't bother me or anything. It doesn't disturb anything. So let her be. I'm not interested in discussing why she's doing it, because I cannot give you an answer. I cannot take you through a logical process of explaining. Exactly. So okay, so the part. So when this thing plays out, my initial difficulty within myself is almost similar to Ernest, but I really want to help Bongi. I really, really want to help. And it's almost a sense of importance. It's like, but I do not know what to do. What can I do? So I read a lot, okay. So I also start just reading things, and I'm like, okay, this advice doesn't make sense to me because it's not, but also it's not relevant to the situation. Yes. So then it's about stepping back and just taking a pause. I didn't speak to anyone else about it, to be honest, because I didn't know who to speak. Who do I speak to be honest? But who do I speak to? I can't speak to my sisters. I do speak to them about a whole host of things, but this one is just,
It's
I don't even think about asking my older sister, my younger sister, hey,
Yeah.
you know what, my wife now is going through menopause.
what do I do?
My mother is still alive. I can't speak to her. I don't even think about speaking. So I do not know who to speak to. And I don't even imagine that there's anyone to speak to about this. And maybe there's something that we need to start thinking about, you know, as men, who do we speak to? So there was none. So for me, it was like, this is me and Bongiwe. Yes, I was very conscious that I just need to be a support in whatever form. And I kind of let her lead me into whatever would be the support for her, because I didn't know what it could be. I luckily, in terms of being very expressive, yes, I am to an extent. So at least I would say and indicate that, listen, just tell me what we need to do. Just tell me what we need to do. And then that's how literally it followed. So I remember the one time when she explained almost like feeling out of energy altogether. And then I was like, okay, what about we take a walk? So like, oh, gee, actually, I would love that. Okay. And actually, they started also, we then got into a pattern of taking walks, which was a beautiful thing because of our work and everything. Although we live together, we always make a point of going out together on Sunday. But during the week, we had gotten into this routine of just running with things. And also the kids were younger then, so it's homework and all of these kind of things. We were together, but also we're not really spending time together. So this in a way suddenly became something that brought the two of us together, because now I was really now conscientious to say, okay, Bongiwe needs help. I don't want to smother her. But I will just literally make her know that, hey, my friend, just tell me when you've got another strange experience, just let me know, and then we'll see what we do. We'll figure it out, you know.
Exactly.
So in terms of advice, it's a tricky one truly, because we're not the same. For me, the big issue for men in general is how we're socialized, and I'm really talking about men across cultures. When it comes to menopause and everything related to women and the female reproductive system, it's such a tricky thing, because so imagine growing up as a boy, right? So other men will teach you certain things about women. And some of the things that they teach you are actually not really they're not really correct things, but anyway, you pick up these things. I mean, right?
It's very true.
But what I find even worse is, so let's talk menopause, and also let's talk about women's menstrual cycle. Now that somehow gets treated. So let's start with the menstrual cycle thing as what women go through. Amongst men in men's corners, that gets spoken about almost as a taboo thing, which is extremely bizarre, because when we think about it,
it's a natural progression of life.
well, extremely.
Exactly.
And for me, going back to logic, I'm thinking all of us human beings, whether you're born male or female, you are born, a woman carries you in the womb. The womb is part of that whole reproductive system, including the menstrual cycle. It's part of all of those things. But somehow this gets given a very taboo-like image, almost like a dirty image, to be quite frank about it. So it starts there. So when it comes to menopause, it's sort of like part of this chain of things that is these bizarre things that happen to women. I mean, I've come across men who would be obsessing about whether a woman at work is in her menstrual cycle. Is this woman serving us tea? Is she clean?
Sure.
You know, it's
so the stigma attached.
The stigma, and I don't quite get the stigma, because all of us anyway come through this way. so I just don't get it at all. But in this long-winded way, what I'm saying is, you're asking about what advice you give to men. I'm really struggling what advice, because for me the advice has to take a couple of steps back. There is something as men, and maybe as fathers, just that both Ernest and I, we've got boy kids.
Boy kids, exactly.
Yeah. But maybe just being very conscious about undoing certain bad habits about talking about women in general, talking about women's bodies, talking about women's reproductive systems, and attaching taboos to these kind of things. Because I think if we get to that, the whole conversation around menopause becomes easier. So in terms of advice, it may be a bit of a just general type of advice. I believe in a relationship, communication, open line of communication is really the key. So if you're in the habit of communicating open, I think it's easier. If not, hey, I really do not know how you. I know you're saying give advice. I really do not know. But for me, if you're already in a state where you can really communicate with your partner, it's just to be bold and also understand that there is nothing odd about menopause. There is nothing. So I keep on going back to the menstrual cycle.
It's part
It's part of that. Yes, and honestly, when I think about, I mean, even I'm 57 years old. Sometimes I'm sitting with men of my age, and one of them was just gonna say the most bizarre thing about a woman and a woman's body and even the menstrual cycle, and I'm like, but what? It's a very bizarre obsession. I start to understand where it comes from, but if we can maybe be very deliberate in undoing that part back then, I think then it would be easier for generations to come. But for now, honestly, it's just being open, and also as a man, and I think Ernest, to your point, maybe some of us, it could just be how we also grow up. You know, we are the men of the house, so we'll be solutions driven in everything. But even just accepting that actually I don't have a solution here. All I can do is just be supportive.
Absolutely.
And let me be led in the support. I'm not going to determine what form of support it would be.
Exactly.
It's just that whole thing of stepping back to say, let me be led, because my partner is the one really, really feeling it. So yeah, let me be led by her.
Fantastic. You know, Shongomkulu, you've covered a lot of aspects. You might not think that you've offered advice, but for me, there's something quite significant in what you said. In fact, both of you have said it. And that is, sometimes it's not about providing a solution. Because that could be a source of conflict, actually, and we're going to talk about that. It's not about providing a solution. It's about allowing your partner to lead you so that you understand the feelings that they are having. And you then become a support structure as opposed to a solutions imposer. And then the second thing that I'm finding quite interesting in this conversation is that you are saying, let us unlearn. Go back to unlearn the habits that we have created and built around the female reproductive system. Because this is on a part of a progression, starting from us going through the periods, and then the periods coming to an end, and the changes that happen within us. Remove the stigmatization away from that. And in rooms where you are all men, being able to be deliberate about saying this stops here. Let us go back and let us unlearn and let us destigmatize this whole thing so that we can be true supporters to the partners that are going through this thing. So these are powerful nuggets that you've come up with. And I'm hoping that with men that are listening out there, you're going to really take this on board, because as an experiencer myself, even us as women, we really do not understand what's going on. We know that there's something happening, and sometimes we just want to talk. We are not expecting a solution. We just want someone to give us a listening ear and make us realize that we are not going crazy. Conflict. Conflict is bound to happen. Hormonal fluctuations, mood swings, sad today, happy tomorrow. How have you dealt with that?
Play golf.
I guess, you know, for me, I look at it this way. I'm a very big proponent of trying to find something for yourself. And I find in Tito will tell me, I always encourage her, I'm like the number one supporter. If she's like, I want to go away with my girls, before she changes her mind, I'll make sure I do the booking myself. I so she goes. It's not because I want to get rid of her, but I think for me, it's like, I just find like, if you have stuff for yourself, it allows you the time to go to your corner. And like in a boxing match, when it gets very emotional and people are swinging and they can't get them control them, what do? They push, they tell them to go back to the corner. Go there, because I think it's important. I think that's the best way to deal with conflict, because I think sometimes we deal with the conflict when we're still raw, and sometimes we don't do it correctly. So I think for me, having something for yourself to do, it's always the starting point. So Tuli likes to exercise. She never used to run, so I started running with her, and I realized it wasn't gonna be for me to run with her, so I didn't have it. So for me it's golf. Like I go away, cool off, see what I'm doing. But I think also equally is also trying to find ways to create an environment where you can have a conversation. Like when you're raw, go to your corner, but find something to do together. And I find most of our solutions, like if we disagree on something, and we always find a solution, is we decided a couple of years ago to do this thing of go around Durban, find the waterfalls. And people will be surprised how many waterfalls are around Durban, because it's in fact, right? So we would normally try to go every first Saturday of the month, and that 2-hour, 3-hour walk, trying to find this waterfall. We tend to have really holistic conversation, because I think conflict isn't about the exact thing you're talking about. It's generally brewing on all different things. I think when you're struggling with your emotions, anxiety, all these things, it's the triggers that push you, but isn't the source of the conflict. And I think for me that's how I tried in conflict, is always go to my corner, calm down first, because if I engage while I'm raw, it gets nowhere. And I think if both of you have your own corners, and you can always go back to your corners, you can engage better. And I think that's how I try and deal with conflict in general.
Yeah. I think it's almost similar to what Ernest is saying. As I think I said right in the introduction, that Boog and I, there are things that we really enjoy in common, but also we've got very diverse interests. And where I've been fortunate, and I'm glad that we made a decision to come back to Durban when we started a family way back then. There's a lot of support structure here in Durban. So Bongiwe would then come to you. The younger sister, Ketiwe, would be around. They would do things with Ketiwe. And I would be out of that. Sometimes I should even say, you want to join us? And I would just want to say, no, come on, you can go, just so that there can be that breathing space. So Ernest does golf, me is gym or running mostly. I don't know what it does, but it just puts me in a good space. I can even sometimes I don't even think about what was bothering me, but I'm just in a space of okayness, and I can then approach things in a calm way, because I think calmness is very important. I mean, Ernest was talking about avoiding addressing things in a raw state, because then you start saying words and say them in a way that is not nice.
And when we are going through this, those are exaggerated.
Yeah. But I must say, though, in Mongwe's case, though, there wasn't much of there wasn't drama. So when she was, then she would, lucky me. Yeah. So maybe when she was in a very bad situation with the menopause, she wouldn't take it out on me, maybe in terms of yelling at me or saying nasty things to me. It would be almost the opposite. It would be almost like she withdraws into herself, which for me is very odd, because she's a very outgoing person. She always has something to say about anything, in a crazy way. So the silence would bother me. It's like, okay, she's unhappy. Then, as I'm saying, right at the beginning, I would even start wondering, have I actually done something? If I've done something and she hasn't said it, this must really be very big. So you kind of beat your, but then you learn slowly. So okay, maybe I'll pick up something maybe in just a tone of voice, and just like keep space. But also just go back to small things that she really likes. So to be like I'm gonna go past Woolies. What shall I get you? Like a treat, okay? Because then that would normally just bring us back to that nice level again. So she will ask whatever treat. She likes this nougat thing that I think this thing is horrible, but anyway, she loves it. So,
I'll tell you a story.
okay.
Oh my God.
Okay.
You wanna go there?
Yeah. So, but it's also just being very conscious now to say, because I don't know in relations, we're not the same in relationships, but I was lucky. What I was taught by men in my life, including my late father, the message was in marriage in particular. My father said something along the lines that this whole thing of give and take, yes, is true, but he says in the give and take, worry about you giving, just give and give and give and give. Don't calculate to say I've given so much, how much am I getting back? So he says, so the give and take is important, but you personally just focus on the give. And so for me, it's like, okay, what could make me happy? I can see. So that silly question, listen, I'm going to Woolworths, what shall I get you? The usual. That almost always without fail would break the ice and break, maybe like even move her out of whatever psyche she was kind of going through. So it's honestly being very deliberate about these things as men. I think honestly with so much information going around, let's just be very deliberate about learning about menopause as men. I think most of us have heard the word. Some of us think, oh, yeah, one of those strange women things. But we live with women as our partners. So best we know a bit more about this, understand when certain things happen. And I've read that in some cases, I mean, the reaction is quite extreme. So I think what we're talking about, what I've experienced, I think it's mild, but it still did bother me enough at the beginning because it was very confusing. And I live in a happy home. I would like everyone to be happy, my wife in particular. And now when I say that she's not happy, well, I'm saying not happy because that's how I see it. Yeah, it's a question of what do I do, and then it's all the learning. Oh, okay, no, it's not for me to tell her what to do. Let me be led by her. But then also, what are the small things that I can do? So if you're a flowers person, hey, send those flowers as many times as possible, you know. But yeah, just back to that line that I said is something I really remember from my dad. In a relationship, it's give and take, but for you individually, just worry about giving. Don't worry so much about what you get back. Yes, yeah.
Because if you constantly are comparing your giving towards versus what you are getting, it builds resentment. That's a powerful one in a story for another day.
Okay.
Which talks to wellness in marriage.
Okay.
We're going there.
Okay.
This one is speaking about specifically menopause, but wow, you've given us such nuggets. Just before we finish, self-care. How do you make sure that you are okay emotionally? Because I can't imagine what's like mild or not, living with sometimes walking in and someone is withdrawn and you don't know if it's you. Or in extreme cases, being shouted at for no particular reason. So how do you self-care? What you said you do golf. What else do you do just to center yourself so that you are able to cope?
I think for me, like it's I try to create space for me to do stuff for myself, by myself, and I think maybe something that works for me. So it could be simple things like, you know, in my household I do all the groceries. Like me, my wife is never about groceries.
I write the list and I tell him what to do.
It's a Zulu illness, don't we?
If you take her to the store, it'll take 2 hours because she wants to go to what she wants, and she wants, and she has a science shopping. So the back to shopping, I think for me is like kind of spend a lot of time on myself. I find like if you are happy in yourself, you could help a lot of people. And happiness is like a internal thing. For me, it's about I was trying to calibrate on where I'm at, how I feel, spend time to myself. You know, I always tell people, you know, like I love me something. I always do. I love to create space for myself. Whether it's, you know, like where I do my normal weekly shopping, I go by myself, I listen to music I love, and music is like a big part of my life. My kids will tell me that's a big part of my life. And the other thing is actually is spirituality, right? And people mix it with going to church. And more people said, I go to church. I never believed in God. I think I went to just too much as a kid. I got to a point where I just don't like going to church. But my kids will go every year in our car. We drive to school. We all say our little prayers. We put our days. I think for me, we have to do something that of spirituality. It's not about God, but wherever you want to be. For me, we have spirituality. You make time for yourself. But that's something you're passionate about. For me, I said, we spoken and learned about it. All this is my absolute passion. Like literally, if I all my weeks are easy. I honestly don't feel like it's Monday, Tuesday. I'm always excited because it's going to be Sunday morning and I'm going to be playing golf. And that's really my passion. So if you have a really good passion, make time for self, especially in marriage, right?
Yeah.
We idolize all those couples like, always together. They're dressed the same. They do all this together. I think it's healthy. You need to find time for self, but also something you're passionate about. So for me, those are the three things that I try to do for myself, and they work for me. So it's something that I think people need to find out about those things in the hospital.
Sure.
Yeah. It's again, it's gonna sound like I'm repeating what Enes said, but it's so true and it's so relevant for me also. Although I don't play golf, run absolutely. Maybe again, just taking a step back very quickly. Enes is touching on this whole thing of just also finding your own space. So even in a marriage, for me, it's absolutely important because even before we get to menopause, at times there are tensions in relationships precisely because we are smothering each other. It's goodness me. So I like the whole thing of shopping now. I like shopping for food because I also developed a habit of and a liking for cooking. I grew up not cooking really, so started with just buying, and then I see these TV shows and this man cooking very nice meals, and I'm like, oh, I actually want to try that, Yeah. Then it just becomes a bit of a hobby and all of these things. So actually, even just going to buy food, to buy these ingredients, I go by myself because Bongiwe becomes very impatient. So that could just become a source of very silly tension. Now she wants to go. I'm like, no. I want to get fresh green peppers. She may see these prepackaged ones. No. I want those that are out. And it is small things, but I'm just going to aggravate her for no. And then, as we are saying, and I said, at times you're going to end up having an argument about something that seems to be quite big, but it's an accumulation of all these like silly things, silly small things. Yeah. So it's just also just being very conscious of not losing yourself in a relationship. So your individuality. Yeah. You are partners, but I mean I don't know when people meet. So I met Bongiwe, I think I was in 1989, but I started dating in 1990. So I was 20 before you were born. Long time. So I was 23. Yes, I was 23. She was 20, right? Well, 19 actually. So I was already formed in some way. She also was already formed in some way, right? You start dating, we kind of grow up together then as a couple, but there are still elements of who Lwazi is as an individual.
True.
And thankfully, she has never tried to stifle that. I would like to believe I've never tried to change who and what. So giving each other space right from the beginning is quite important. So that when you also get to this stage, you may need, as my partner, all you need is just a word of reassurance, and then to be left alone. Yeah. And then that should happen, because then we're all okay. I spoke about we started running together. Now I run a little bit more seriously, so I would have a run with Ubongiwe in the morning, which would be a very slow run. I would then just do another one later in the afternoon on my own to then do my own normal training. And there's no issue around that, So I'm now not going to hassle her and say, okay, come now, but I ran with this club, you must come and join this club. And she doesn't fit in. And then now we have another source of tension because I'm forcing into something that she doesn't fit. But also with her, a lot of Bongiwe doesn't have a lot of friends. So a lot of friends are kind of family and family associates. Now, You are also her sister. So as a group of ladies, when all of you are together, no, by no, my ace, no, no, I actually don't. You guys talk about things that actually I find boring, so I don't want to be there. And I'm not saying in a dismissive way. Yes, yes. But I don't want. So even if, but I like eating at a restaurant. So Bonga may say, hey, listen, we're going to be at this restaurant with so and so. I'll say, no. That bunch of girls, no, I'm not. You go on your own. And it's not being sexist. It's not wanting to be with my wife. I'm just respecting that. Listen, go so that you guys can relax and have your. Maybe I don't even go anywhere. So I said maybe I've got a backlog of like 5 weeks worth of reading stuff that I still have in touch. So I'm just going to sit. Maybe I'm going to go for a run, do some stretches, and then just laze around reading. And I'm very happy. So it's really understanding each other's spaces, give each other room to be ourselves, and don't smother each other. and so in helping, so in as partners as males, helping our partners in menopause, it's exactly that. You may actually, so you may do two extreme things that are equally bad. You may actually not care because this thing is not for you. It's like a woman's problem. That's one type of a problem. Or you may become overbearing. So it's kind of, and I don't think it's one size fits all for what different people. I'm talking about really wanting my space. Some people really do need and do enjoy being reminded all the time that, listen, I'm with you, by the way. Hey, I'm here. So I can't say there's one size fits all, but I do still think that people's individuality still matters, regardless where you sit on the spectrum of, I really want my own space, or I want more time together. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's let each other breathe.
Breathe. So you now think there will never be his and hers. Oh, I'm so sad. Anyway.
That's what you wanted.
Guys, I think time normally it's really not on our side.
Okay.
There is so much we could have spoken about. And as I said, this is part of a series of conversations that I have to be in with people. And I think you feel really double-handed in your response. I'm hoping that people that have listened to this have gotten some nuggets out of this. But for me, I think the most important thing that I got out of it was that whole thing around communicate, understand what you are what your partner is going through, and you don't have to provide a solution. Sometimes it's just about being there, providing reassurance.
Yes.
So that the person understands that they are not mad. It's about also taking care of self.
Yeah.
Because this can be draining.
Yeah.
Doing things that make you, that fill your cup, so that you are able to come back and be a good supporter.
Yeah.
It's about finding things, a common ground that can provide a platform of communication, so that you are able to speak about these things. Yours is running with your wife, yours is hiking, finding elusive
waterfalls
and chasing after them.
Yeah.
So all of these things are going to help, and removing the stigma.
I was going to emphasize that there is nothing dirty about women's bodies.
Yes.
Full stop.
Remove the stigma. Talk about it in places where you men congregate and together, so that there is full understanding of the fact that there's nothing taboo about it. There's nothing dirty about it. It's literally part of creation. And the fact that you are here today because you were created by the very same women who suddenly you are finding it totally practicing taboo and other ways. So thank you very much for
Thank you.
Fun to Fit with Flying Coach.
Yes.
I wrap up here, and I hope that you really enjoyed this segment. I certainly learned a lot from it. The next segment, good people, will be engaging with the kids of mothers who are going through menopause. So
Wow.
until next time, Flying coach here, signing out. Thank you.
Thank you.